let you know that A Monster Calls is no perfect movie. So A Monster Calls is about a young boy named Connor, played by Louis McDougall, and he's in denial over the fact that his mother, played by Felicity Jones, is terminally ill, and then he has to live with his grandmother, played by Sigourney Weaver, who he's not very fond of. And he's visited by a giant tree monster, voiced by Liam Neeson, who tells him 3 stories that are allegorical to Connor's situation. And the film's story centers around whether Connor will learn from these stories and learn to accept his grief and his mother's death, or if he continues to deny these facts and vent his frustrations out on the people in his life. Even though it's technically not a horror film, what makes this movie's atmosphere so dreary is J.A. Bayona directing the film like an actual horror movie. Because a child watching a parent suffering a terminal illness is a very scary notion, and Bayona films the main actor in wide, empty long shots witnessing events from behind a door or through a keyhole, and the audience feels just as alone, scared, and helpless as Connor is. And what amazes me is just how practical the effects are for the monster despite its small budget. Yes, there is a lot of CGI and motion cap in the monster that does look very nice, and not gonna lie, the monster does kind of look like Groot. But at the same time, as often as they can, the monster is mostly portrayed through these giant animatronics and puppets that are in the same frame as McDougall, and it makes his performance and the scene feel all the more real because he's portraying genuine emotion in front of something that's actually there. And even though this film is meant for kids, Patrick Ness as a writer does not talk down to his audience. When adults talk to Connor about his scenario, they treat it like they would in real life, making it clear that if he ever needs to talk about his problems, they're going to be there for him. But at the same time, they make it very clear these problems are here, and they're here to stay whether he likes it or not. Even during the story segments, which are portrayed by beautiful watercolor paintings, they are both beautiful to look at and also visually portray dark scenarios, like one character's hands covered in red to symbolize death, possibly at their own hands, or an evil witch who is entirely painted black. And the imagery is both artistically breathtaking and uncompromisingly dark. The actors all have a difficult job to do in this film. Portray characters who do just as many good deeds as they do bad, but still feel sympathetic, which they do a really good job at. As the main character, Connor refuses to admit that his mom is dying when his family hints at it, or link the stories the monster is telling him to his own life. But McDougall's body language successfully shows a kid who is very passionate about art and drawing, something that he learned from his mother, the one who is suffering the most. So you can understand why he's bottling up the fact that he doesn't want the person he loves the most in his life to go away. And even though you don't agree with some of his later actions in the film, you do at least see where he's coming from. And Sigourney Weaver and Liam Neeson are both very constantly blunt and uncompromising towards Connor. They directly, and sometimes even indirectly, influence him to lash out verbally and physically towards people either in school or by himself at home or in front of them. But at the same time, they're trying to get him to be open about his pain. And you can see that Weaver is deeply upset by the fact that her own daughter is dying and that her grandson is depressed, and she doesn't want to leave her grandson alone. She definitely wants him to live with her, but because he doesn't know how to respond to the scenario and is being very hard to deal with, you can at least understand why she is so harsh towards him. And I won't spoil why the monster cares so much for him, because it does lead to a twist that I legitimately did not see coming. My main issue with this movie is that there are multiple times during the film when Connor, like I said, does lash out physically at school or at home. But the adults constantly say that there is no point in punishing him. And there are plenty of points, like the fact that, say, property damage, assault, battery, you know, those are crimes. And the monster even says in the movie that people are not 100% good or evil, they're a mixture of both. And because this movie is so honest about that, it can turn viewers off sometimes. It isn't always easy to sit through, and sometimes the parents are a little too lenient towards the main character, but A Monster Calls has great acting, smartly written characters, fantastic visual effects, and a smart, mature message. And for that reason, I'm going to give A Monster Calls a 4 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other reviews at NoPerfectMovie.com. And once again, thank you all very much for watching. Take care.